I thought catching my wife cheating was the worst moment of my life. The day I walked into our home, a place filled with 2 decades of memories, and saw her with another man, it was as if the ground had crumbled beneath me. 20 years of marriage gone in an instant. The divorce that followed was bitter but swift. Papers were signed, assets divided, and silence fell between us. For a year, I lived with the dull ache of betrayal, believing nothing could ever cut deeper than the image of her in another man's arms. I told myself I'd survived the worst. I was wrong. It came quietly, in the form of an email. Just her name in my inbox was enough to make my stomach tighten. I hadn't heard from her in months. For a moment, I almost didn't open it, but curiosity won. The message was short, too short. There's something you deserve to know, something I should have told you years ago. My hands trembled as I scrolled down. Each line peeled back a truth I wasn't ready for. She admitted that her affair during our marriage hadn't been the first. There had been others, not just fleeting encounters, but long, hidden chapters of her life that had run parallel to ours. Business trips, girls' weekends, even times when she had left me home with our kids, swearing she was exhausted from work, when in reality she was in someone else's bed. But that wasn't the worst of it. She wrote that our youngest son, the boy I had raised, loved, and poured my soul into, might not even be mine. The man she'd been seeing around the time of his conception, she revealed, had always lingered in her mind as the possibility. She claimed she didn't know for sure, that she hadn't wanted to test, that maybe she was scared, maybe she just didn't care enough to tell me. I sat frozen, staring at the screen as 20 years of my life unraveled in front of me. Every birthday party, every scraped knee I had bandaged, every bedtime story I had read, all of it suddenly carried a shadow. Was he truly my son? Or had I been living a lie, fathering a child who was never really mine? The betrayal hit harder than any affair ever could. She hadn't just cheated on me. She had robbed me of truth, of certainty, of fatherhood itself. And she admitted it not in tears, not face-to-face, but in a cold, detached email, as if confessing a secret she'd long grown tired of carrying. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I wanted to scream, to break something, to claw back the 20 years that had been stolen from me. But instead, I just sat there, my world collapsing in silence. Days blurred together after that. I avoided calls from friends. I ignored the messages from my children. How could I look my son in the eyes, knowing what I knew? How could I keep loving him the same way, when every moment was now haunted by doubt? Yet, deep inside, something stopped me from walking away, because whatever her betrayal had taken from me, it couldn't erase the years I had spent raising him. It couldn't erase the love in his eyes when he called me Dad. DNA couldn't rewrite memories. Blood couldn't erase love. Still, the bitterness gnawed at me. Nights were sleepless. Days were heavy. I carried her email like a wound that refused to heal. Months later, I finally took the test. Alone, terrified, desperate for closure. The results came back with cold precision. He wasn't biologically mine. The confirmation shattered me, yet strangely, it also gave me clarity. My wife had betrayed me. Yes, on levels I still struggled to comprehend. But my son, he hadn't betrayed me. He hadn't asked for any of this. To him, I was and always would be his father. And so I made a choice. I chose to keep being his father, to love him, not because of blood, but because of the bond we had built. Because fatherhood isn't always about biology. It's about showing up, about being there, about the love that grows stronger with every sacrifice. As for her, she became a ghost, a reminder of everything I had lost and everything I had survived. The woman I once loved had destroyed our marriage, our trust, and our future, but she couldn't destroy the man I had become. Sometimes, betrayal doesn't end with the affair. Sometimes it goes deeper, cutting into the very fabric of who you are and what you believe. And sometimes, surviving it isn't about getting revenge or finding justice. It's about choosing love in spite of the lies, choosing strength when everything inside you feels broken. I thought catching my wife cheating was the worst thing that could happen. I was wrong. The truth came later, sharper and colder than I ever imagined. But I'm still standing. and I refused to let her betrayal define me.